Hi, welcome. Welcome. My name is Ileana, and I'm a librarian at the San Francisco Public Library, located on the unceded land of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. Wherever you're tuning in from, we're so happy to have you with us this evening. Welcome to another special Viva program as we celebrate Latino Heritage Month. I am just over the moon, super excited to have such a wonderful, wonderful event for the next hour. But first, we have to do a huge thanks to the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library for their generous support of this special series that's running through the month of September, which is today's our last day, and through October. So thank you so much to the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. Aida Salazar, Rebecca Balcarcel, and Reina Luz Alegre are members of the author collective Las Musas, and they'll be sharing their latest and upcoming works, discussing Latinx cultural elements in those works, and a bit about what inspires them, and maybe throwing in some advice for any of you writers out there, young or medium. This conversation is going to be fantastic for families, for educators, for youth, for those in middle grade reading. So you guys are really in for a treat. A little bit about Las Musas books. It's the first collective of women and non-binary identifying on the female spectrum, Latinx middle grade, picture book, and young adult authors that have come together in an effort to support and amplify each other's debut or sophomore novels in the United States children's literature. Las Musas represent just so many cultures and language and places, including Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Haiti, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and Uruguay, just to name a few. You can learn more about their work and meet new authors at www.lasmusasbooks.com. Feel free to add questions in our chat. There'll be time for the authors to answer questions at the end of their presentations. And we'd love to hear what books you're looking forward to hearing about. Our first author, Aida Salazar, is an award-winning author and arts activist whose writings for adult and children explore issues of identity and social justice. She's the author of the middle grade verse novels, The Moon Within, an International Latino Book Award winner, The Land of the Cranes, that just came out about 2 weeks ago, and an upcoming bio picture book, Jovita Wore Pants, the story of a revolutionary fighter. They're all published by Scholastic, and she's also going to be co-editing with Yamil Said Mendez, Calling the Moon, a middle grade anthology on menstruation by writers of color, with Candlewick Press. She's a founding member of Las Musas, and we just love having her here with San Francisco Public Library. So welcome, Aida.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library, to the San Francisco Public Library, to the incredible librarians that have brought us here. And you know, I'm here to talk about The Moon Within, and a little bit about The Land of the Cranes. But before we start, I want to tell you about The Moon Within through video. And so if we could share our screen now, the first slide, please. All right. So that was a fun little trailer that we put together for The Moon Within, and it just tells you a little bit about the story of Sally. And it was the story was written from a place that was very personal. My daughter was kind of coming of age and beginning to ask all sorts of questions about her changing body. And when I went to the library to find something for her that was told in story, the only thing that we could find was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which was written in 1971. And at the time, I didn't think too much of it. I just figured our library didn't have all of the menstruation stories in its catalog. And so I just like, oh, excuse me. I'm here with my family. It's like everybody in COVID. So sorry about that. So the library didn't only had stories that were little fragments here and there, but mostly they were nonfiction books that told you very factual things about periods and menstruation and body changes and whatnot, which are wonderful, but nothing in stories. So I set out to write a story for my daughter that would not only talk about menstruation, but to tell it through a Latina perspective. And The Moon Within is what came out. And I'm going to read to you a little bit from The Moon Within, and I hope you enjoy it. This story is told in verse, and as a story in verse, it means that it's a story told in poems. But you have to read it from the beginning to the end to kind of appreciate it, really appreciate it, just like a novel. Okay, and so this one's called Moon Ceremony. Mima says, judging by my body, that soon my moon will come, and with it, my moon ceremony. It's a period, Mima, I tell her, not a moon. She whips back, it will come every 29 days, just like the moon, so it's a moon cycle. She doesn't know that the moon is a dancer to me, not a period. I dread the ceremony where she will gather all 6 of my aunts, some of my dance teachers, a constellation of grown-up women to talk to me about what it means to bleed monthly. And worse, I'll have to openly share my body's secret, my locket secret, as if on display like a ripe mango on a fruit stand. I just about lose my lunch and I can't roll my eyes back into my head anymore. Mima tosses her long night black hair to the side to explain for the 20th time while I turn my back and imitate her words. Our ancestors honored our flowering in this way. It's a ritual taken away from us during so many conquests. The thought of having to talk to anyone, especially adults, about secrets only meant for my locket makes my insides crumble. I won't do it, please, Mima, please don't make me do it. Embarrassment will eat me up whole, I shout from my heart. Don't worry, Sally, she calms. Your body will tell us when it is time. So that's one little conflict there about Sally in The Moon Within. And as I said, The Moon Within was created from my personal life in relationship to my daughter, but it's fictionalized because my daughter and I practice ceremony to the moon in circle with other women, and so she grew up in a environment where that was the norm. And I thought it would be funny to actually write a story about a girl who doesn't have that reality. So I felt like I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit. And I wanted to show you a moon ceremony, or actually it's an image from her moon ceremony so that you could see what this looks like. So if I could see the second slide. Yeah. No, not that one. one, the second one. There we go. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me stop my video. Oops. Oh, there's some sort of block on it and it's not allowing you to see it. I'm not sure what that is, but well, you see a little bit of it there. We sat in circles. She's sitting in a moon hut, and there's oh, there it is. There's an altar in front of her, and there is an elder giving her advice, and there's sacred fire in the middle, and the more elders are around, and we're all sitting in a circle, and it was during a full moon. And so this is something that was passed down. These traditions get passed down orally. It's not something that anybody has really written about before. And so it was a special privilege to be able to show this ceremony in the book. And now, you know, if we start to think about all the different ways that people have relationships to the moon, many of them have, like in the excerpt that I read, the mother says, you know, there's a 29-day cycle of the moon, and menstruation also has that same cycle. So there's an undeniable connection between somebody who menstruates and the moon. And this is true throughout the world. And in my particular ancestry from Mexico, I was drawing on my ancestral traditions that I learned from elders in my community. And so this is not to say that everybody should go out and do a moon ceremony, if you know, or take this, what I just described in this book as their own, but really kind of look to ways that your community or your culture has acknowledged these kinds of ceremonies. All right, I'm gonna stop. If you can just stop that slide now, yeah. Another thing about the moon within that is very prominent is that Celi is Afro-Puerto Riqueña Mexicana. So she is Afro-Puerto Rican Mexican, and as a multiracial child, as a multi-ethnic child, she draws from different traditions, and she's a dancer. She loves to dance bomba, and bomba is an Afro-Puerto Rican art form which really informs the way that she gets her power. She feels powerful during that time, during you know, the times that she's able to dance. And I wanted to show you what bomba is like. So if you could please show the next. All right. So that's bomba. And if you noticed, the dancer, who was 13 at the time, that was a 13-year-old dancer, was communicating through dance with the drummer, the lead drummer. And so as the dancer moved her skirt, the drummer was responding. And they create this conversation. And this art form plays a big role in the moon within, and like I said, it's part of how she really kind of gains her power. She knows that through this art form she's powerful and she's connected to her ancestors, and through her mother's traditions, the Mexican side, she's connected to her mother in the Mexica ancestral traditions of the moon ceremony. So that is a little bit of the world of the moon within. And, you know, it's a fun book. I think it's a fun book. I try to be funny in it, but it's been censored. There's been quite a bit of silent censorship that the moon within has really experienced. And why is that? Because, like I said before, Judy Blume wrote Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret in 1971. So it's been 50 years since a book has focused this strongly on menstruation. And you know, some people argue that it's the first ever to focus that much on menstruation, and whereas Judy Blume's book had a little had it as a plot point, but it was different for its time, but mine focused almost entirely on menstruation. And so, you know, the importance of that is that we don't talk about it. It's 50 years had to go by before we talk about it, or it comes up in a middle grade fiction. And that's terrible. And it really speaks to, you know, how much of a taboo that this is. But when we begin to think about what menstruation means, every single human on the planet came from a menstruator. Everyone. Without menstruation, there would be no life. And so it's important for us to be able to know this, accept it, and celebrate it, so that everyone is included in this concept of humanity, right? When we don't acknowledge or there is shame in any aspect of our humanity and our life cycle, then what are we saying to the people who menstruate? We're telling them that they don't matter. We're telling them that their humanity doesn't matter. And so with the moon within, I was hoping to give readers this power and a way to embrace it. And especially in the Latinx community, you know, it's a big taboo. People don't want to talk about it. And it's like dirty, disgusting, the curse. And so we have to fight back against that story that's kind of been in our communities that says that. And I was hoping that the moon within would be one of the ways. But also, I think it's important to give back to the community, and one of the ways is through this giveaway that I've come up with, and I'm going to give away a first menstruation moon kit to Black and Brown youth in the Bay Area. So if you could share that slide, there it is. So on October 10th, there's something called the Period Action Day. And it's a national day where people are doing different actions to fight against period poverty, which means people who don't have access to menstrual products, and against period stigma, which means, you know, that people are not afraid to talk about it. So we were trying to dispel that, and I was hoping to give away this kit. There's a bar over it again. Oh, there you go. And the kit will come, of course, with a copy of The Moon Within in English or in Spanish. It'll come with cotton reusable pads, a Luna acne salve, some Luna herbal teas, a flower sage bundle, and a period resource list with some nonfiction you know, facts that you can find out about menstruation. And in order to enter, you have to go to my website, aidasalazar.com, and then you'll get one. Hopefully you'll enter a chance to win one. And Yes, okay, and so that concludes that little portion of it. But before I go away, I want to tell you a little bit about my next book. So if we could end that slide real quick, there we go. Yeah, so my next book that just came out is called Land of the Cranes, and this is a story that's very, very close to my heart. It is a story about a little girl, Betita, who is whose family gets swept up in the immigration debacle in the United States. Her father gets deported, and then she and her mother are wind up in a detention center, and she writes picture poems to her dad about the conditions and the feelings that she's feeling while she's in prison on US soil as a 9-year-old child. And she writes them to her father, who is now in Mexico. So I wanna share with you a little bit a trailer that we put together with my family, my brother and my sister, and I got my whole family involved to animate this story. And if we could play it, please. Hello. Christina, can we play the next one? Oh, there you go.
When Betita's family migrated to East LA, her father told her they were like birds who've come home to Aslan, land of the cranes. Betita loves to fly on Papi's shoulders, to dance with Mommy and Papi, and write picture poems in her 4th grade class. But then one day, Papi is taken away by ICE and sent to Mexico. And soon, Mommy and Betita are trapped inside a cage with other migrants. When this unimaginable cruelty threatens to tear them down, will Betita find a way for her voice to inspire change?
All right. So yeah, so that's Land of the Cranes. And I think that's all that I'm going to share with you today. If you have questions, we'll be taking them in a little while. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Aida. Man, family, it's all about family, right? So I think that's the perfect transition over to our next author, Rebecca. So Rebecca Balcarcel is just a new fan favorite of mine. She's authored The Other Half of Happy, and which actually was a Pura Belpré honor book, and an ALSC notable book that was named one of the top 10 first novels of 2019 by the American Library Association's book list. Rebecca took her MFA from Bennington Writing Seminars and received their Jane Kenyon Poetry Prize. Her work has appeared in journals such as Third Coast and North American Review. Pekin Grove Press of St. Mary's University published her book of poems, Palabras in Each Fist, and you can find her on YouTube as a 6-minute scholar. And then, fun fact, she loves popcorn, her kitty, and teaching her students at Tarrant County College as Associate Professor of English. We have really found the silver lining in being able to do virtual events, and Rebecca is joining us. There she is from her living room. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. This is so lovely to be here. So yes, this is my first novel, The Other Half of Happy. And if we could just share my live face first, and then we'll come to the slides afterwards. Thank you. So this is The Other Half of Happy, and it features a 12-year-old Quijana, and she's half Guatemalan, and her mother is from Iowa. So her growing up in two cultures is really the the big project of Quijana. And the worst thing in the world is happening. Her parents are planning a trip to Guatemala, but she doesn't speak Spanish. So she's pretty sure she will hate everything about it. And she's making a plan to not go. And you'll have to read the book to find out how she and her friends figure out her own plan. I'm going to read a little bit, just a page or so, and then I'm going to show you some of the connections to my real life that inspired the book. So this is Quijana in the cafeteria at school at lunch, and it's a new school. And she's kind of surprised to find that some students here speak Spanish. And because she appears brown, she is expected, they're expecting that she speaks Spanish. But this is what happens. "Don't you speak Spanish?" a girl with glasses says. "Aren't you Quijana from English?" She chews a tater tot. "Yeah." The light-haired girl looks over. "Oh, you're one of those. You don't speak Spanish, right?" "A coconut." "A what?" She snorts. "No sabe." They swerve back into Spanish and speed off, leaving me in their dust. My sandwich tastes like a stack of note cards. I stuff my lunch sack into my backpack and tramp back to the portable where English is held. It's locked, so I sit on the wooden steps. I pull out my phone and turn it on, which is not allowed, but I'm not technically in the school building or even in the portable, so maybe it's okay. Still, I type quickly. I tilt the screen into the shade to read coconut, slang term for a Latino who acts white. This isn't me. My mom is white. I drop my phone in my backpack and I look out across the field. What does act white mean anyway? And how would I act half Latina? I twist and untwist the top loop on my backpack. Being a little kid was just easier than this. I wasn't half anything. I was a whole continent then. Pangea, unsplit. Now I have tectonic plates. Mom looks at me and sees Grandma Miller's cheekbones. Dad sees the Carrillo nose. I see one landmass, but I'm wrong. My body is Guatemala crashing into United States. What happens to me, the whole me, when my plates shift, when my continents tear apart? No one told me 12 was earthquake season. So Kiana's 12 and she's finding this tricky. So let's go to the first slide and I will show you some of the real life experiences that inspired this book. This is my parents on their very first date and they're in Guatemala. My mom was in the Peace Corps and met my dad there. So like Quijana from the book, I grew up with a mother who was born in the United States, really from British descent. And then my father is from Guatemala. And then you see a more recent picture of him playing his guitar. The guitar plays a huge role in the book and in my childhood. I grew up with many songs, both in Spanish and English. And I especially learned a lot of Spanish songs that I don't understand, even though I've memorized all the syllables. So I can sing them, but I'm not really sure what I'm saying. And Quijana has a similar experience in the book. And then you also see my tia. She's making tortillas. And in the book, Quijana is shown by her tia how to make a tortilla. And it makes her feel like she belongs. You know, the food and the music is such a way to connect with the culture. And when I would visit my cousins in real life and my real tia here, they would include me and make me feel that I was part of the culture. But at the same time, I felt like I was a visitor because, you know, my name and my DNA was a passport to this country, but I didn't feel at home. Partly because I am not fluent in Espanol, que lástima. And without Spanish, there was always this barrier. But one of the lovely things that my cousins also taught me was a hand rhyme, a clapping rhyme called chocolate. So of course I put it in the book. And we have a little video so that you can see what chocolate hand rhyme looks like.
Chocolate, chocolate, choco chocolate, la choco chocote, chocolate, chocote, choco chocolate. Ahora más rápido. Chocolate, choco chocolate, la choco chocote, chocolate, chocote, choco chocolate.
Thank you. And we can go to the next slide. And you'll see here drafts of the other half of Happy. You can see that I did a lot of revision. And part of the reason is that this book, I will tell you a secret, started out as a stack of poems. And you can see how messy my desk there was when I was discovering that I wanted to draw upon the power of my best poem that I had ever written in my life and create a book around it. So as I looked back at my poetry and wondered which one of them carried the most resonance for me and just spoke to me continuing after years and years, it was one that's called Guatemala. And the first line is, Guatemala was a place inside my closet. And the poem is about really repressing heritage and about feeling uncomfortable, feeling that I didn't belong, that I wasn't a real Latina. And I took that poem and I spun out about 40 different scenes. And when my agent saw these, she said, I think what you're writing is a novel. And so you see all the drafts it took me to create a novel out of really jumping off from that one poem and my life as a bicultural person. And let's go to the third slide, please. And you can see here the results of that work. The book did turn into a novel, The Other Half of Happy, and you can see my parents a little later in their lives here. This is my book signing on the left. And you can see, I'm going to point out something I'm wearing in the picture. It's a huipil. It's called a huipil, and it's the native dress of the Mayan descendants of Guatemala. And I'm wearing that also in the other picture. The other picture is me with a student who read my book and wanted my autograph, and how honored and excited I was. The huipil, though, is something that I did put in the book as well. Quijana receives a beautiful huipil from her abuela, and sadly, she refuses to wear it because, you know, are you going to wear that to school on especially the first day of 7th grade? No way. So she doesn't really appreciate it at first. And I can say that I was like that when I was young. I didn't understand how beautiful and proud it would be to wear the huipil. And so now I wear them every chance I get, and definitely to book events. And I'll just end by saying that, you know, one of my purposes in writing the book was to show other mixed kids, such as the young lady here in this picture, that their story matters, and that you can embrace both, or even if you have 3 and 4 heritages in your life, that can be a great project. And I really want kids also to turn around and tell their stories of whatever their heritage is. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing a little bit about your inspiration and your process. And I think that's such a great transition into our next author. Just talking about, you know, being half of something, right? Learning about identity. And in Reina Luz Alegre's new book, She actually has dreamed of being an author. Well, the author has dreamed of being an author since the 2nd grade. And we're just so happy to have her here as well. She grew up to work on various other professional dreams, including a freelance journalist and lawyer, before debuting her first novel, The Dreamweaver, which is fantastic. And you can, she is also, fun fact, when she's not writing, Reina loves to read, sing, and salivate over baking shows. And I have to tell you, her writing about baking is superb. So Reina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ileana, and the San Francisco Public Library and Friends of San Francisco Public Library, and Aida and Rebecca, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I love writing about food. You're right. I love eating it. I love writing about it, especially baked goods. And in The Dreamweaver, which is about a 12-year-old girl named Zoe who is half of Cuban descent, I wanted to write about both like light issues, like, you know, light stuff, like the fun stuff like baking, but also more serious subjects, like trying to connect with your heritage, and which is something that Zoe does. Zoe's mom passed away before the book starts, and her dad has put away like every reminder of her mom's Cuban heritage, really just because it was so painful for him to even think to see her mom's stuff around. But Zoe has been yearning for that connection, not just to her mom, but to her mom's heritage. And she begins to find it when her dad, who's kind of irresponsible, leaves her for the summer indefinitely at her grandpa's house, her mom's dad, who was the generation born in Cuba, so Zoe is 2nd generation. And so she starts to connect with like her Cuban side, and she's really excited to pursue it, but she also feels like, how much of this, like, can I claim, or am I, because she's 2nd generation, and because she's been detached from it for so long, and because, like Rebecca was saying, because she doesn't speak Spanish, and her grandpa's always quizzing her on her Spanish, and she's like, oh, I don't know. But she's also dealing with a lot of change, because her brother is leaving for college soon, the brother who she's relied on for everything, because her dad is kind of flaky, and her grandpa's on the verge of losing his bowling alley. So the story really, the plot of the story is really how she decides, because she's very resourceful and spunky, that she's going to help her grandpa save his bowling alley, which is on the beach. And if we could please show the first slide, family, friendship, and heritage. That's sort of the inspiration for the book, is like how complicated and how layered family and friendship relationships can be, and how middle grade age readers start to, like, I think, really understand that on a deeper level in their own lives, when they see, you know, they have their own conflicts as they become more independent, but also they start to look and to judge sometimes their parents and their grandparents, correctly or incorrectly, and the decisions that they've made. And that's something that Zoe really reckons with throughout the book. And I'm going to read a little excerpt in which her grandpa and her dad have the biggest fight that she has ever seen them have. And in weaving in Zoe's Cuban heritage, which I'm also of Cuban descent. I am the 1st generation born here. My mom and my grandparents were born in Cuba. And I tried to weave in different aspects, like language, Spanish, food, but also I think some cultural attitudes that I was raised with, in my family at least, that underpin some of the conflicts in Zoe's world in the book, which are, I was raised with the very strong notion that extended family should live like in close proximity. And in the book, Grandpa, Poppy, as Zoe calls him, Poppy, he is very upset, of course, that his daughter passed away, Zoe's mom passed away, but he also has been harboring a lot of resentment toward Dad because he feels that Zoe's father took away his daughter even before she passed away because he encouraged her to move all over the country. And so Poppy had built his bowling business thinking like his only daughter would inherit it and run it. And instead, Dad moved her to the other, in his idea, like his mind, to the other part of the world. So even though right now, Zoe and her dad are at Poppy's house dealing with just the issue of Dad going off to a new job opportunity and leaving Zoe, there's all this like emotional baggage that's sort of pops up from even before. So that's the background. And Dad just accused, Poppy, the grandpa, just accused Dad of basically killing his daughter because he overworked her because he's lazy and flaky. And so Dad is really angry. Zoe gaped at him, shocked by his sudden anger and surprised that he'd understood Poppy. Oh, because Poppy had just insulted Dad in Spanish. She thought Dad, the only non-Cuban in their family, spoke even less Spanish than she did. After all, it was he who'd hidden away all of Mommy's Spanish music CDs when she died, taken away every reminder of her culture, from the drawings of guardian angels beneath their mattresses to the hourglass-shaped cafetera cubana she'd used to make strong coffee when Dad went on business trips. But apparently, he understood plenty. "This is my house. I can speak the truth as I see it," Poppy shouted, getting to his feet now, fists balled at his sides. Both men leaned forward menacingly, with only the wooden table between them. Zoe's family had always been loud. Really loud, though their arguments were never physical. But now, for the first time in her life, Zoe was afraid that Dad and Poppy might actually exchange blows. "Stop it, please, Mommy wouldn't want you to fight. Everyone just stop." Startled, Poppy and Dad glanced at Zoe as if they'd forgotten she and Jose were still listening. The invisible fishing line reeling them toward each other was suddenly, thankfully, broken. Dad took a step back. Blinking, Poppy began cleaning his glasses with a napkin. "No more fighting," Zoe ordered again, choking back tears, and then she bolted up the stairs to her mother's old room. So that was a big emotional moment in the book, but I also tried to incorporate some lighter topics. If we could go to the slide about summer fun, please. Like I said, it's a book about trying to save Grandpa's bowling alley, which is on the beach. So there's baking, there's the beach, there's a bowling alley. And if we could go to the next slide about fashion, there's also a big issue that I, honestly, I don't know that I'll ever fully outgrow it, but something I wrestled with a lot in middle school that Zoe also wrestles with in the book is just figuring out what to wear and what might be flattering, what's cool and popular, what's affordable, what can we afford on a really tight budget. So that's something that Zoe also deals with. And I just think it's important as a Latinx writer to write about our cultures and also just represent the diversity of cultures, represent our own perspective within the diversity of cultures that exist in the Latinx world, but also to just have representation and talk about, regular middle school stuff like, oh man, like I don't know what looks good on me. I don't know what to wear. Those shopping malls, like I don't know what I can make work. I don't know what my style is. Just both for Latinx kids to see themselves represented and also for kids from other backgrounds to see us represented and relatable. So thank you so much for this opportunity to be here with you all tonight. I'm so excited and ready for any questions with everybody.
Wonderful. Reina, thank you so much. I mean, your title is just, it's such a different title to what the book is for me, right? Like the Dreamweaver, the title of the Dreamweaver, to what the book is. So I recommend all of these books for all of our viewers out there. And I'd love to invite Aida and Rebecca back on so we could do some Q&A. Yeah, wonderful.
My hair is wild. I realized, I see myself, I will.
So first of all, thank you all for spending time with us here, just sharing a little bit about your process, a little bit about the stories. There's been a ton of appreciation in the chat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk through some of that appreciation because I think it's important for us to hear those things. So for The Moon Within, The Moon Within was a game changer for the young girls in this person's life. The fact that this book exists is revolutionary. So thank you, Aida. So much appreciation for celebrating and honoring the moon cycle through ceremony and community. And I personally love the relationship between the brother and sister, Juju and Sally. It's so fun and so real, right? It's so real. So I'm gonna go through my appreciations and then we'll come back for some questions. For the other half of Happy, somebody wrote in, as a mixed Latina, this was such a powerful part of the book for me, from the excerpt that you read, Rebecca. So definitely resonating. Rebecca, I love, sorry, my timer. Rebecca, I love hearing the story behind the book. And we have a teacher librarian here in San Francisco, Rachel, who I miss dearly. And her middle school book club is reading your book right now, Rebecca. So shout out to you. And Aida, last year we had a middle school book club that read your Moon Within title from another teacher librarian library pair. So fabulous. And Reina, I feel like yours is gonna have to come then, right? If we've already had 2 book clubs, yours is gonna have to be the 3rd. We're gonna push that out.
Thank you.
And just appreciation for you, Reina Luz, just to be able to share such a fun story, but with depth, right, and breadth, and like who doesn't love a good fight scene in middle grade fiction? So so that was the ton of appreciation that kind of came through. And no questions just yet, but I do have one that I'd love to be able to ask. And again, just reiterating, you guys answered these questions around your process and inspiration and a glimpse into your titles. Of course, I encourage everybody to check them out at your local library or purchase them from your favorite bookstore, your local online bookstore. They're available. I have all 3. So if I can get them, so can you. And just what advice do you guys have for either kids or adults who want to write? And well, let's start with Reina Luz.
I would say to be really honest with yourself and to write what's in your heart so that it feels really authentic and relatable, because I think that'll make it interesting to, if you're not agented yet as a writer, to potential agents, and then to potential editors, and then ultimately to the audience. And I also just wanted to explain the title from the Dreamweaver a little bit. So writing has always been my dream, like you said in my intro. I mean, it's something I just like had to do as soon as I was able to form sentences in a row, like since the 2nd grade. I mean, I think that's when I first got the bug. And so I've just always written, and I just had to. And for many years I thought, this is not practical. I'm never going to actually publish anything. It's just like my own little personal way of venting or just imagining stuff for no reason. And then within the past few years, I became more serious about writing and trying to follow my dream. And the Dreamweaver is really about exploring what dreaming means and how dreams change over time. So Zoe and family and friendships and relationships tie into that, because Zoe is looking around at all her elders. Like, I see Poppy's dream is going down the toilet. He's about to lose his bowling alley. He's depressed and he's not doing anything to save it. I need to help him. Dad is always like irresponsible and always chasing one dream to, and the other, and he can't like land on any firm ground. And my brother is so like single-mindedly dedicated to going to college and to becoming an engineer. Like, it doesn't even matter to him that he's leaving and going across the country away from me, who needs him so much. He's just pursuing his dreams. So she's sort of taking in what everyone around her has done and trying to figure out now, how is she going to pursue her dream? And I think that's what we have to do as writers, because it is a career in the arts, and it is often not a day-to-day job for many writers, and you have to figure out your priorities and how am I going to balance this with the rest of my life. And I think if you are, whatever age you are, whether you're 9 years old or 90 years old, like, if you feel this passion and this burning story inside you, like, do it. Like, write it, but be practical too, and know that your dreams might change, and you should maybe need to focus on more than one project, and just be flexible with your dreams while staying true to yourself.
I think you pitched a middle school book club right there. I think you just did it, because I'm sold, right? Like, that makes sense now that, because I love the characters, and I definitely see the string of dreams, right? So thank you for sharing that. Rebecca?
I'm going to say first that I've read both of these books and they are great. So everyone, you must read The Moon Within and Dreamweaver. But advice for writers, whether you're pursuing publication or not, if you are writing for yourself, for your family, whoever your audience is, I recommend to read, and read a lot, and read the thing that you want to be writing. Because what I found is that when I read, I'm apprenticing myself to the author. I'm absorbing the way sentences can go. I'm absorbing how the music of language can be. And I can turn around and steal all of those techniques and put them in my own work. So reading is just this wonderful teacher, this mentor for me in all my life. I think reading is what made me a better and better writer. And I still read a great deal, as much as I can, like these two books.
So if Rebecca, who's a professor, says to share the wealth of knowledge out there by reading, everybody needs to do it. It's just hands down. Aida, what advice would you have for folks who want to write?
Well, was the question for kids? Was the original question for kids? If kids out there are trying to write, right?
It can be, yeah, kids, okay. Or not kids. Everybody? You can choose your flavor.
Well, I'd like to focus my answer on kids. If you are a child or a youth or anybody younger than 18, or listen to the things around you. Listen to the way your friends speak. Listen to the way your elders speak. Ask people that you think are interesting their story, because everybody has a story, and if you listen to it, you will kind of collect those stories. You'll be like a story collector, and practice writing down those stories, and a little more than that, live. Remember to live, because you can read and you can practice, but if you don't live, you play. Remember to play, because that's so important. To go out and get your heart broken, or go out and make yourself happy, whatever it is. If you live, all of those experiences kind of come into your brain, and the voices of the people around you, and the stories, and the playful living aspect of life will funnel itself into your work, and it will make your work very, very rich.
Fabulous, fabulous. Just so I'm just going to go through a couple more appreciations that came in. Such a beautiful event. Somebody's asking, I would love to hear a picture poem from Aida's book, Land of the Cranes.
Oh. Okay.
And I would venture to say, Aida, that we'll be bringing Aida back on October 21st and have a little bit more focus on Land of the Cranes. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. So if you're up for it.
Well, if there's room, it's okay. It's okay with me.
How are we, authors? We'd all love to hear a picture poem. Yeah? Okay.
A picture poem is so this little girl writes these here. I'll see if you could see that. She writes these picture poems like this, and I'm going to read these, and they're very short. So this is a picture here, and she wrote two of them here. I drew Maricel after she got beaten. There's a girl who came into the detention center. She got beaten. And I wrote, when you sing the truth, not even a beating will quiet it. Betita, March 15th. I drew a new family. We met a girl today who is scared like her mother. She is from an island where they speak Creole and a little Spanish. Her name is Ellie, 9, like me. Betita, March 16th. So it's a very different book, a book that really kind of looks at a lot of pain.
Thank you for sharing that, Aida, and yes, out there viewers and our authors, come back for October 21st. Aida will be in conversation with Natalia Sylvester, who has her YA debut running that came out a couple months ago. So that's going to be exciting.
And who's also a Musa.
And she's also a Musa, which transitions actually to my final kind of comment that came in. Such good advice, Las Musas. So, shout out to Las Musas books, to the women here who helped found it, helped continue it, helped move it forward. I'm just so happy that there's a resource out there that we can look to for this. It's just so very important. So that's our time, you guys. It went by so quickly, right? I would love if anybody would like to share kind of a last sentence or a last word about kind of your middle grade memory, your favorite middle grade memory. I'm gonna just go with friendship. I had some really great friends in middle school. My word is friendship. Amistad.
Okay. I'll mention that my best friend of my life, I met in 7th grade when I was 12 and he was 12. And actually, my book is dedicated to that friend. And on my website, you can find a picture of this person. His name's Daryl, and he's no longer with us, but we had many adventures, and one of the book characters is based on him. So like Aida said, when you listen and you absorb stories, you can put them in your work, and he did see the book before he passed, and so that the book is inextricably tied to all my memories of being in 7th grade. Yeah.
I have a middle school memory that actually ties in with my book. In the book, Zoe's first impression of one of the girls who will become a close friend and actually really loyal and really there for her is terrible. She thinks this girl is mean and petty and popular and like just not someone she wants to really hang out with at all. And she has a little bit of those things, but she finds that, people are nuanced and deep, and just like her family, there's layers, and, there's layers to all of us and to our relationships with each other. And so they actually form a really strong and caring bond. And in middle school, actually one of my closest friends, who was nothing like this character at all, but thinking of 7th grade, on my first day of 7th grade, kicked me out of my seat. Or second day, like she was like, no, that's my chair for the rest of the year. And I thought like she was the worst, and was like, oh my God, I was a new kid and I was like, oh, this is awful. Like I can't even sit down anywhere. And then, you know, one way or another, we worked it out and she actually became a really close friend. So first impressions are not always accurate, and it's worth you know, trying to talk things out and getting to know a person and not just you know, like withdrawing into ourselves. So we can find friends in unexpected places.
Mine would be mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. I think that when we're growing up, especially in middle school, you're kind of beginning, or you know, between 5th and 8th grade, you're really beginning to experience the world independently from your family, and you're gonna fail sometimes, and it's okay to fail. You know, it actually is a superpower to fail and get back up and try again. And that's how we grow. And even after that age, you're going to continue to grow. So honor your mistakes, learn from them, and give yourself grace, because we're all human.
So our viewers can follow our Musas here on Twitter, and their websites are also available for them. So reach out, be sure to enter the giveaway with Aida if you like. And I just thank you so much for being here. And that's it, the end. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ileana.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.